Hi, this is Jack Schaub, and this is Chiller Service Advice, a video cast designed for the curious observer to the seasoned HVAC specialist. This is episode 11, titled, What is a Low Ambient Control, and Why Would It Be Used on Your Air-Cooled Chiller? So, a low ambient control is a refrigeration component that is added to the chiller either by factory or after the fact that controls and regulates the cycling of the condenser fans by either on off or by speed through frequency drives to optimize the high side pressure when the outdoor air temperatures or ambient conditions throughout the year go below 40 degrees Fahrenheit or about 6 degrees C on a regular basis. Now, not all chillers need to have a low ambient control in them, and examples would be if you're in the southern part of the United States or in a place where it's always hot and never below 40 degrees Fahrenheit on any regular basis. You don't need this kind of control. If you are in the Northeast or in a place in Michigan or where it really gets cold on a regular basis or even colder than 40 degrees, you're going to need a low ambient control. Now, there are a couple exceptions where you would have a school that only runs during the summer months. The rest of the time it's winterized, and this would be comfort cooling and any other comfort cooling chiller that might be used that's winterized the rest of the year. You don't need any kind of low ambient controls. Now, how does it work? This particular control, this refrigeration component, has a sensor, whether it be a capillary line or a pressure transducer, that is located on the high side refrigeration system of the chiller, on the condenser or in some kind of line that measures the high refrigerant pressure. And it regulates, as it rises and falls, the amount of fans or fans that come on, or the speed at which the fans come on if you have EC motors or VFD motors. And depending on the refrigerant, 410A, 407C, 404A, the low ambient control is designed for that. So to give you an example of how this would work, is your chiller starts up, and instead of all the fans coming on, which it would on an 80 or 90 degree day, the fans don't. And the refrigerant pressure on the high side starts to rise up and get to its optimal level, and then a fan or fans start to cycle up. Or with frequency drives, they start to speed up, and it levels it out right where it needs to be on the high side. So if we use the example of our 410A, when the refrigerant pressure starts getting up around 350, the fans will start to spin and keep it ultimately right where it needs to be and not overcool the refrigerant. So the problem here of not having a low ambient kit, like I just said, it overcools the refrigerant. You have a chiller, let's just say it's in Michigan, and it's 20 degrees outside, and it comes on, and it doesn't have a low ambient control. All the fans come on at once. It overcools the refrigerant on the high side. The high side never gets to where it should be. The suction pressure tanks, and it never gets up where it needs to be in a quick enough time. And you run into problems of low refrigerant pressure, oil return, especially when you have a split system chiller where the condenser's outside and the evaporator's inside. The refrigerant velocities drop off, and you have problems with the compressor getting lubricated and cooled like it should. So it's important to have the low ambient controls, especially in low ambient situations. So if you ever wonder whether or not your chiller has one or doesn't have one, you're buying it used or from somebody in some way, shape, or form, look up the model number. Research on the internet. The model number will give you a dictation of whether or not it has a low ambient kit in it or not. And if it doesn't, don't worry. You can always buy aftermarket low ambient controls and have them installed, whether it be simple ones to just cycle certain fans, or you can get involved and put in a frequency drive to be able to drive them on like a green speed kind of thing, which is something that Carrier does, where all of them spin at the same RPM. So if you have to order one, first of all, make sure, like I said before, anything below 40 degrees outside, you're going to need a low ambient control. Best thing to do is to order it from the factory. I know it's a little bit of a pricey ticket item, but it's going to save you in the long run. I hope this has helped you learn a little bit more about low ambient controls and why they might be needed on your air-cooled chiller, and I'll see you next time.